Hi friends, my name is Amber and this is a Lovely Yarn podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to my space on the internet where I talk about my knitting and then also at times some other fiber arts that I practice as well. So it's been, I think, since last November since I've done a pattern roundup video, and that is what I'm doing today. And I've had this one in the works. I've had it as an idea in my mind for a while. And today's patterns are all quilt-inspired knitting patterns. I love quilts. I am a quilter wannabe. I have bought the materials to make multiple quilts. I have started making quilts. I have made small quilted projects, but my big dream is to make a big quilt that I could cover up with and read under. I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon, but I have been noticing a lot of quilt-inspired knitting patterns on Ravelry, I think over the last year, maybe a little bit longer. And I think it was a pretty hot knitting topic as far as, a lot of designers were designing quilt-inspired patterns. I'm maybe jumping on it a little bit late. Maybe the trend is going out the window. I don't know, but I don't care because I love quilts and I love the look of these quilt-inspired projects that I'm going to be talking about today. I have 20 patterns, but I have to tell you, it was really hard. I started with a list that was much larger than this, so there are other patterns on Ravelry besides these, and but I've narrowed it down to 20 and I'm going to talk about them, and they range from small projects like mittens and socks and hats. I have some garments on here. I have a bag that you can knit that's super cute and is also felted. And then I have several blankets as well. So if you're interested in this, and if you are a quilt lover as well, then join me today as I dive in a little bit to these 20 quilt-inspired knitting patterns. Before I get started on the roundup, I want to mention what I'm wearing. So this is the Felix pullover, which is a pattern by Amy Christophers, and I have knit this multiple times. If you have watched my podcast before, you probably have seen that I've made multiple Felix pullovers. This particular one is knitted with yarn held together, and I used Knit Picks Heatherly in worsted weight, which is and I used the teddy bear colorway, and I held it double with this. Hold on, I gotta find the tag because I don't remember. I think it's called Make It Tweed, but I held these double, and that gave me this fun tweedy pink, light pink sweater, and it's so soft. This yarn from Knit Picks is, what is this? Oh, it's 80% acrylic and then it's 20% merino wool. It is hand wash and dry flat. So yeah, this is a nice cozy, it's oversized. It's kind of like a sweatshirt, which I love. And then this little bandana is a pattern by, oh, it's also by Amy Christophers. It just occurred to me that I am wearing, both of the things I'm wearing that are knitted are from Amy Christophers. This is my pressed flowers kerchief, and I am just wearing it like a bandana. I have it tied at the back, and I used Purl Soho Good Wool yarn to make this, and it is a light DK. I would say that the good wool, and I used desert blue and then the color olive oil. And I love this little, oh my gosh, I wear this so much. It's like the perfect little amount of warmth for my neck for when I'm inside, because I don't wear my big shawls inside. Okay, so we're gonna get started. I do wanna mention that I will have all of these patterns linked down below. You just need to go to the video description and there will be a link to the full Ravelry bundle. If I have time, I will list out each pattern, but that is all dependent on how much time I have, because that does require a lot more work and time. So, but I will have the bundle there, and it is public, so anyone should be able to access that list. All right, let us get started then. Oh my goodness, be still my heart. These wood block mitts by Ysolda Teague are just so unbelievably adorable. I saw these when she released them and I was like, oh my goodness, I must knit these. And so I think I'm going to knit these very soon. She actually, this was published, I just noticed in November of 24, but I didn't see this pattern until last year towards, I think it was in the fall. But anyway, this pattern is a paid for pattern. These mitts are made with fingering weight yarn and on a size US 2 or 2.75 millimeter. It comes in adult small and large sizes, and you will need 200 to 235 yards. So these are really cool how they're made. They're seamless. They're made in a modular fashion, and it uses, I think the pattern is written to use 4 colors, but you can use anywhere from 2 or more colors, depending on how colorful you want your mittens. So you basically start in the middle with that little star motif, and then you're going, that's actually made by doing a mitered square. And then you knit triangles and squares along the edge that with stitches that you pick up along the edge of your center star motif. And then so you do some knitting there, and then you fold that in half, and then you make your thumb opening. So it sounds like it wouldn't be hard. And I love these so much. And I think that the Knit Picks palette would make a really nice yarn. I have a lot of that particular yarn that was gifted to me by a viewer, and I think that that would make such a good yarn for this because it's fingering weight and it's also a bit stickier. So I think that's what I'm going to use to make my mittens. Katrin Seeberger designed this next mitten pattern, and these are called the Ambler Quilt mitts. Actually, I'm sorry, they're mitts, not mittens. And they're also a paid for pattern. They use fingering weight and a size US 2 or 2.75 millimeter as well. The pattern is written for 5 different sizes from toddler up to adult large, and you will not need any more than 207 yards of yarn. So this would be a nice little quick project. And it is stranded color work. She also wrote in her description that you will be doing some flat color work, but I don't know where. When I look at the picture, it looks like it's all in the round. So I'm not really sure why that is like a hashtag on the pattern, but just be aware of that. If you are not into flat color work, maybe these aren't the right mittens for you, but it looks like you would just go round and round with stranded. So I'm not really sure why that's marked that way. When I look at the Peak Mittens, which is the next pattern I want to talk about, which is by Shannon Larson and is also a paid for pattern, I immediately thought of the flying geese quilt motif. Now, I know it's not exactly like the flying geese because the flying geese are like triangles and they're arranged in a certain way. And these aren't exactly like triangles. They're more of a arrow, but a thick arrow. And so that's what they reminded me of, which is why I'm including these in this list. And this is another pair of mitts, but they also can be made into mittens. So she includes instructions for both in the pattern, where you're using fingering weight yarn in size US 0 and 1 needles, which is 2.0 millimeter and 2.25 millimeter. The pattern is written for adult small and large size, and you would use 200 to 500 yards of yarn, depending on what size you knit. Also, another thing to be mindful with this pattern is that there is an afterthought thumb. So that would be something cool if you've never done that before. And this is also stranded color work. This next pattern has a knitting technique that I am not at all familiar with, but it looks really cool. These are the Sawtooth quilt socks by Fox and Folk, a paid for pattern that uses fingering weight yarn and US 1 and 2 or 2.25 and 2.75 millimeter needles. This pattern includes instructions for sizes ranging from kids up to adult large, and they are knit top down. They have a heel flap and gusset construction, and they have this really beautiful sawtooth star motif on the front, and this is made using a technique called rosamine, which I may be mispronouncing that, But it is an Estonian knitting technique, and I'm not sure how it's done. It's not stranded, so I don't know anything about this particular technique. It's very intriguing to me. And I had looked at some of the other projects because the sample that Fox and Folk included, all of the Sawtooth stars are the same color, but she did note in the pattern notes that you can make, because of the technique used, you can make each star a different color or make stars multiple different colors. So I had looked through some of the projects on the project pages, and some people had made like the different colored stars, and I thought that was really beautiful looking. Summerlee designed this next pair of socks. These are called the pinwheel socks, and they are made using fingering weight yarn and US 1 and 2 or 2.25 and 2.75 millimeter needles. This pattern is written for 4 sizes from kids, and then adult, small, medium, and large. And they are worked top down. They have an afterthought heel, and they are stranded color work. And look how fun and bright. And I mean, you can just have so much fun with your yarn and picking all kinds of different colors. Now, if you do not like socks that are, color work, these are not going to be for you, because these socks are completely color work. I have never done a all over color work sock. I have done color work socks where it's just around the leg portion of the sock. I've made multiple patterns like that. I've never done a full sock that was color work. And to be honest, I don't really have the desire to do so, but I know there are people out there who do love that. And so I wanted to include this pattern because I think it's really fun and bright and happy looking. And then it's got like the pinwheel quilt motif. Porous Feather Fiber Arts released this next pattern in 2023, I believe, and these are the quilty cabin socks, and I love these from the very beginning. They're simple. This is one of the colorwork sock patterns that I actually will knit because the colorwork is just on the leg portion of it. But these are, this is another paid for pattern knitted with fingering weight yarn in size US 1 and 2 or 2.25 and 2.75 millimeter needles. It comes with 6 different sizes, and it's cuff down, heel flap and gusset. It's stranded color work. And when I was looking at even the sample photos, you can do just one like motif chart around the leg, or you can double up and do 2. So whatever you want to do. I mean, you could do even more than that. You could just really have fun with these socks, but I like the simplicity of them. And I could definitely see myself making these. Okay, this next pattern is free, and it is the Sawtooth hat by Caroline Vogel. So very cute. I love this motif. And it is a fingering weight hat that you knit on US 2 or 2.75 millimeter needles. It comes with, the pattern is written for adult size small or large, and you will need 235 to 275 yards of your fingering weight yarn. It is knit bottom up. There is a provisional cast on that you do at the beginning, and this is stranded color work. Let's move into a couple of shawls, and this next one is absolutely, oh my gosh, so gorgeous. It is called Clint by Natasha Hornby. It is a paid for pattern. It uses sport weight yarn, and you will need size US 3, 4, and 5, which is 3.25, 3.5, and 3.75 millimeter needles. And it's gonna use about 1,300 yards of yarn. But look at this beauty. It is knit entirely in garter stitch, and it is knit modularly. That's a hard word for me to say. Block by block. And so you're basically knitting your central like little star motif. And then after you do that, and that's all done modularly, so you're picking up stitches and adding on to the portion you already knit. But when you finish that center portion, you're going to knit above and below it. Then you're going to go out and you're going to knit outwards to form like the wings of your shawl. And then I believe it has an I-cord edging the whole way around it that you probably put on at the very end. But she states, even though this looks like it could be quite the project to make, she states in the project notes that this is actually suitable for most skill levels, and she includes a video on how to make this shawl, like doing the modular star in the middle. This is a boomerang shaped shawl. And I think that's all that I'm going to say about that, but it is just so gorgeous. And I love the colors that she chose in her sample photo. If you just want to do some like simple triangles, I have a pattern for you by Stephen West. It is called the Quilting Triangles Shawl. This is a paid for pattern that uses fingering weight yarn and size US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. And you'll need just a little bit over 1,300 yards for this one as well. It is a 5-color shawl, and it is also knit modularly. Don't be afraid of modular knitting. I've done it multiple times. It is not hard at all. To me, I don't find it hard at all. So don't be intimidated by the term modular. Each section is knit separately and then attached to the previous section as you knit. He includes a schematic for planning out your colors. And it is all garter stitch. Oh, also it has a free video tutorial to go along with this pattern as well. I have 4 garments that I want to talk about. And this next one is kind of a transition between a shawl and a sweater. And I have wanted to knit this for a very long time. I'm not sure why I haven't. It's just one of those projects that I think I first saw it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I've not been like, oh, I'm glad I didn't knit that because I wouldn't even wear that now. Like sometimes we do that with things that we make, but I still really love this pattern. And I think it has to do with the fact that it is scrappy and it's colorful. And it is called the 4-Season Cabin Cloak. It is a pattern by Andrea Rammel. It is a paid for pattern. And you use fingering weight yarn and size US 6 or 4 millimeter needles. And it does take quite a bit of yarn. It's going to take 2,600 to 2,700 yards of yarn. It is a one size pattern. It's made of 6 different squares that are log cabin squares. And she provides diagrams to help you plan out your colors and then how you're going to place your 6 squares. And she also includes instructions on how to knit this modularly, which means you'll be knitting a whole square and then you'll pick up stitches and cast on and knit your whole next square. Or if you would rather have it be a little bit more portable, you can actually knit your 6 squares separately and then seam them together at the end. But I think this is so beautiful and cozy. And if you know me, you know I love a scrappy project. Look at this walled garden vest. Oh my goodness. This pattern is by Sonia Barjalaska. It is a paid for pattern. It uses worsted weight yarn and it is written for 10 different sizes. And you're going to be using size US 4, 6, and 7 needles. And that is also 3.5, 4.0, and 4.5 millimeter needles. You'll need anywhere from 525 yards to a little over 1,000 yards of yarn, depending on what size you knit. It is a log cabin construction, so you start in the center and you work out, and it's all garter stitch, and then it's finished with a split hem and a little bit of a folded ribbing at the neckline. This is so cute, and I love the neutral colors that she chose for hers. The next 2 patterns I have for you are written by Amy Christophers, and I love them both. I had to include them both because although they're similar in a way, they're also very different in a way. So the first one is the Hesper cardigan. Both of these are paid for patterns, by the way. This first one, though, it uses fingering weight yarn. It's knit on size US 3 and 5, which is 3.25 and 3.75. She has written this pattern for 10 sizes, ranging from 36 inches up to 67-inch bust. It is a seamless top-down sweater. The colorwork yoke is done using Mosaic yarn, so this is not stranded. That means you're using one yarn at a time, so you don't have to manage multiple strands of yarn at the same time. And she said, if you want your star motif to be different colors, so you have the stars going across the yoke, if you just do it in the regular Mosaic, then every star will be the same color. But if you want it to be like a different color for each star. Then she gives instructions on how to knit it using Intarsia. And then we're going to go out and look at this poly cardigan that is also a pattern by Amy Christophers. Now, this one is a little bit different in multiple ways. It is done with mosaic knitting, but it is using worsted weight yarn and larger needles. So, you know, maybe it would go a little bit faster, but it is US 4 and 7 needles, which is 3.5 millimeter and 4.5 millimeter. She's written this for 8 sizes, ranging from 38 inches to 65 inches. The sweater is completely knitted in mosaic. So the entire sweater is mosaic. So it's going to be a bit thicker and warmer. Plus it's worsted weight yarn, which is also going to make it feel warmer. It's knit bottom up, and it has raglan shaping and a V-neck construction. So the V-neck construction, I like that. I actually prefer a V-neck construction in my cardigans, but this one is just so darling. We're going to change gears a little bit, and we are going to look at the log cabin bag, which is adorable. I love log cabin quilts. I just love them. They're just so simple, and they just remind me of just warmth and coziness and simpler times. This is a pattern by Kate Jackson. It is the $6 pattern. It uses Aran weight yarn and size US 10.5 needle, which is 6.5 millimeter. She used and recommends brown sheep lamb's pride worsted weight yarn, which I have some of that. So I already have what I need to make this bag. So I'm really considering it. It is knit with a modular log cabin motif. It's knit from the center out, and you're going to knit it in pieces. So all of the pieces for the front, the back, the sides, the bottom, they're all knit separately. And then you go back in the end and you use a crochet, probably just a very simple like crochet slip stitch or something like that, to seam it all together. And then you felt it. So you've got this really nice, sturdy, dense, cute log cabin bag. And it is, oh, I love it. And then I don't know, I'm assuming you just do some garter stitch for the, for like the handle, but I don't remember her saying anything in the project notes about how that is made, but you will also make handles and attach that at some point. Another little bit of a different pattern. These are the quilt block dishcloths by Laura Ayler, a $6 pattern that uses sport weight yarn and US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. This pattern is written to make a 9x9 square, and it is done with mosaic knitting. She includes charts for 6 different quilt blocks, including the 9 patch, the shoe fly, flying geese, sawtooth star, pinwheel, and churn dash. Wonder which one that is. Anyway, so I don't know that I would make these as actual dishcloths, but I thought how nice it would be to make 2 of them and then seam them together and felt them and make like a hot pad or something like that I could use in my kitchen. Rather, I feel like when I knit myself washcloths, I knit like real basic. I think I use the pattern called Grandma's Dishcloth or Grandma's Favorite Dishcloth. I'll try to find it and link it down below. It's so simple because I'm not precious with my dishcloths. They clean up messes. I don't think I'd want to knit this and then use it to clean up messes and like stuff that's going to stain it. So I think I would rather make this and felt it, and you wouldn't even have to felt it. And then, you know, it'd be really cute. So I keep a little hanging pot holder up on my refrigerator on a little tab, and I use it when I'm pouring my kettle because the kettle handle gets really hot. I feel like this would be a really cute project for that. I could make 2 of them, stitch them together, crochet a little loop on, and just hang it up there, and it would look so cute. We're going to get into blankets, but first I have a pillow pattern, and you know what? These next 2 patterns are by Laura Penrose, and I almost didn't include them because I feel like everybody knows about them, but they are such good patterns. I have these patterns, I just haven't made them yet. but I've looked through the pattern pages and I've heard so many people talk about how great these patterns are. And Laura, I've knitted several of Laura's patterns and they're always very clear. I think she's very intentional with making sure that her patterns are clear and directions are easy to follow. And so I'm going to include them because maybe someone hasn't heard about them. So let's jump into the first one, which is the Stella Quilt Cushion. And this is an $8 pattern that uses DK weight yarn, which she writes it for fingering held double because both of these patterns, the Stella Quilt Cushion and the Stella Quilt Blanket, are made to use like Advent yarn or your mini scraps. But you use a US 6 and 8 needle or a 4 and 5 millimeter needle for this pattern. It makes a 20 by 20 inch square pillow cover. And it is done with modular construction and you shape everything using German short rows. So what you do is you knit the front, then you knit the back. I think she may even include some instructions on how to put like a flap opening so you can take your pillow in and out. If not, you could probably figure that out yourself. I personally would want to be able to take the pillow insert out so I could wash the pillow, but I have dogs. So, but also I have heard of people just making the front out of their knitted, like doing the Stella quilt pattern on the front and then using fabric on the back. So that would also be another option. Now let's just jump right over to her blanket pattern or her throw pattern. And this is also DK weight, fingering held double, and you knit this using a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter needle. She has written this pattern for 3 different sizes: baby, lap blanket, and then a throw blanket. And then she also gives you instructions for how to knit it modularly as you go, or also to knit every section separate and then to seam it later. And again, for all the shaping of the triangles and stuff in this, it uses German short rows. I have 3 more patterns to talk about, all blanket patterns. And the first one is called the Learn to Knit a Log Cabin Blanket. This is a free pattern by Very Pink Knits, uses worsted weight yarn and a US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needle, and it will make a blanket that is 47 inches by 63 inches. And if you've never seen Stacy of Very Pink Knits, she has a huge YouTube channel that is just so full of so many different knitting tutorials. I use her a lot. And I really used her a lot whenever I was first learning to knit or learning to knit more complex patterns. She is a great instructor. So she includes a 6-part video series on how to make this particular blanket. She doesn't include a lot of notes in the project page, so I'm assuming that she'll go through how to make the modular knitting of the log cabin squares and then how to seam them together and all of that. But yeah, I would trust that would be a very informative video series to watch if you're feeling intimidated with a log cabin motif. This next blanket is also log cabin motif, but it's a little bit different because it actually makes one really huge log cabin rather than smaller ones that you piece together. And it is called the Next in Line Blanket by Bonnie Sennett. It's a $7 pattern. It is made using worsted weight yarn and a US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needle. It is a giant log cabin worked from the center out, just like every other log cabin is. And she said that you use 4 different colors of worsted weight yarn. There's no seaming, and she includes 2 sizes, and it's all garter stitch. I just like the look of this one. I like how the colors transition, how you have some thin stripes and then bigger stripes. If you look at the photos, you can see what I mean by that. But this just looked like it would be a fun pattern, and you wouldn't have to stick to just 4 colors. I'm sure you could make this as colorful as you wanted. All right, we are going to wrap this episode up with this last pattern, which I am going to say, I don't think this pattern is for the faint of heart, but it's beautiful. It is a stunning finished project, so I had to include it. It is called Quinn's Quilt, and it is by Marinja Knits. It is an $8 pattern. There are 44 project pages on Ravelry for this particular blanket. So people have been brave. I don't know if I'm brave enough to make this, but I don't know. There are people who have made this. It is just absolutely stunning. And it is a DK weight blanket that you knit using US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles. It's a 58-inch squared. Now, this is an Intarsia blanket. I have not knit Intarsia ever, but I'm just like in awe of this thing, which if you're looking at the pictures, you're going to see what I'm talking about. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I think if you were looking for an heirloom knitting project, this really might be a great one for that. Okay, so I hope you found a pattern that inspired you, and I'm going to do a little fun gift away. If you stuck through to the end and you're hearing me right now, drop a message down below in the comment box letting me know which of these patterns you would knit if you had the time or if you had the pattern. And in a couple of weeks, I will randomly choose a winner, and I will send you your pattern choice from this video on Ravelry. So just as a little thank you for watching my podcast and supporting me in that way. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Also, if you have not subscribed, I'm always shocked to see that most of the viewers of my podcast are not even subscribed to it. So if you like this and you would like to subscribe, I would also really appreciate that. Just hit the subscribe button, and you can turn the little notification button on as well if you would like to be notified every time I upload a video, which right now I'm aiming for every Friday or Saturday each week. So I'm trying to do weekly episodes. Whether or not I stick to that, we will see. You can also find all of my details where I can be found other places online, including Instagram, my email, and Ko-Fi. Thank you to my Ko-Fi supporters. I always really appreciate those donations. Okay, I had so much fun, and I hope you loved this video. Let me know down below what your favorite pattern was, and maybe you'll be a winner. And I will see you guys next week. Have fun with your knitting. Goodbye.